Hello everyone, I am Dr. Jyoti Mandala. Welcome you all for the video lectures on Python programming. We are in the lecture number 3. In this lecture, we'll be learning about numbers in Python. So, Python supports 4 types of numbers. The first category is integers, where integer is again categorized into plain integers and long integers. And the third category is floating point real numbers, and the unique feature of Python programming, which is complex numbers. So Python supports storing of complex numbers also. Detailed discussion about all these 3 types. Right? So integer, which is categorized into 2 types, floating point real numbers and complex numbers. So before going to learn about these type, I want to tell a feature which is there in Python, that is whatever number you are storing in a variable, those numbers are and those values which are stored in memory are called as immutable. That means numbers in Python are immutable. Let me explain this with a simple example. Let us consider you are trying to store a value of 15 in a variable x. Now, whenever you are storing a variable value 15 in x, in the memory, a location will be allocated for x and it will be stored with 15 value, and the address, as an example, I have considered 1002, that will be pointed by the x. Right? Now, if you are trying to increment the value of x by 1, x equal to x plus 1. In such a case, it is not like this 15 value location will be added, and in that memory location the increment value will be stored and the new address will be pointed by our x. That means the value of x will be holding the new memory location address. So that's why the numbers in Python are immutable. Right? So let us proceed further with the different types of numbers. So the first type of number is integers. So integer is nothing but an integer is a whole number which can be a positive or a negative integer without a decimal point. So the first category is plain integer. Plain integer is nothing but universal number. So you can store simply a plain integer as x equal to, let us consider you are storing equal 100 value. So you can store a positive value which is a decimal value, and you can store x equal to minus 120. A negative value can also be stored, also considered as a decimal value. We can also have integer values with non-decimal values also, with non-decimal base. Like we can have a flexibility of storing octal values and hexadecimal values. Suppose if you want to store an octal value into a variable, then you need to prefix that one by 0 then in such a case it is nothing but we are trying. Now if you want to store a hexadecimal value into a variable x, then you need to prefix the 0 small x or 0 capital X. Any one of these two is possible. So in such a case it is called as a hexadecimal value. You all know octal means the base is 8 and hexa means the base is 16. Right? Now second category of integer is long. Long int is nothing but if you want to store a larger value, then you can go with a long int. Now here all the memory, it is not like there is a fixed range for long. Always in Python, the range for the long is depending upon the virtual memory space. The amount of virtual memory space is available in your system, that much range is available for you to store the long number. But long integers, whenever you want to declare, you need to declare the number suffix with capital L or small l. Any one of these two is possible. But here you need to understand one thing: this long is supported only by Python version 2. In Python version 3, all the integers are represented as long integers only. So there is no separate type called long. Now whatever declaration I have shown here, this will be considered only for Python version of 2. From Python version 3, from Python the integers are represented as long integers only. So there is no separate type called long type. Right? Now the third type of our numbers is floating point numbers. Now floating point numbers is nothing but like your same double data type in our C programming language, where we need to have we need to have a positive number or a negative number, but floating point numbers should have a decimal point. If you consider an example, here in x I'm storing 1.25 where we have a decimal value, right? Now y equal to 1 point. We can also represent a number with exponent also. If you see here, I have given an e. He represents here exponent. This is, you can use a function called float function, and you can represent any number here that will be considered as a floating point, and that will be stored in a variable whatever you are giving here, right? Now the third category is complex numbers. Now complex numbers is a new feature. Storing a variable with a value called a complex numbers is possible in a Python programming. Now whenever you want, this is a special feature in a Python programming, right? Let us see an example. You can store a complex number simply by representing that in the form of 1 plus 2j. In this case, this is 1 is called as a real part and 2 is called imaginary part. I think you all are familiar with complex numbers representation. Complex number is represented with real part plus imaginary part followed by j, right? Now whenever you want to retrieve the imaginary real part only, in that case you need to use a function. You need to get that value by using the variable name dot real. We'll see the example. Okay, if you want to get the imaginary part, then you need to write x dot image, then you will, it will be retrieving the value of imaginary part. Now to get the complex conjugate, let us consider, then you need to use a function called conjugate function. Okay, now let us see these things with simple example. So to do that, let us move to the command prompt. In that case, we need to move to our Python prompt. Now once we have moved to the Python prompt, now let us check. The first type is integer type. Whenever you are storing any, we can store an integer value. Okay, now if you want to see the type of a, what is the type of a, you simply write type a, then you will get the int value, right? Now if you are storing b value as 2.65, now if you want to know the type of b, then simply type of b, then you will get class is float. Now let us consider you are storing c equal to 1 plus 2j. Now if you want to know the type of this one, then type and write c, type of c, then you will get complex numbers, right? Now let us see what are all the different types I have shown you whenever you want to retrieve the value. Let us consider if you want to, if you write a, then a value will be displayed. If you write b, b value will be displayed, which is a floating value. If you write c, then the complex number will be represented as it is. But for complex, we have two values, real part and imaginary part. Suppose you want to print only the real part, then in that case you need to write print the number whatever you have, you need to write down real. See, real part only you want to print. In such a case, our example is 1 plus 2j, so the real part is 1.0. Observe here, it will display the values in float, right? Similarly, we can represent imaginary. IMAG can also be used, and if you click, again the imaginary part is 2, which is represented in the float point, right? You can also display the complex conjugate of our complex number c. So conjugate is a function, and whenever you type like this, the complex conjugate of 1 plus 2j is 1 minus 2j. I think this is clear to all of you, right? How the operations can be performed. So let us go back to our discussion part. Now after this, we have different number type conversions also. One number can be converted to another number. So the first one is int x. Now whenever you specify int and within that you specify any value, that value will be converted as a integer value. So to convert x to integer, you can use int x. Now long x. Now long x, it is used to convert x to long integer, but it is only possible in our Python 2 version. Python 3 version, it is not possible. Float x, it is used to convert x to a floating point number. Now complex x. Now here it is used to convert to complex numbers, where whatever number you are giving here, that will be taken as a real part and 0 will be considered as our imaginary part. But if you give for a complex function two parameters, then the first parameter x will be taken for the real part and y will be taken for the imaginary part. But here I want to highlight one point. Any number can be converted to complex number, but complex numbers can't be converted to another number form. Let us see with an example. Now, as we already have a value, which is our a value is of type integer, I want to convert that one to float, or I want to convert that one to float. To convert that one to float, simply we need to write float of a. If you write float of a, our a value is 10, it has to be converted into float. It is displaying 10.0. So in that, it is as simple as that. Now our b value is float. Let us consider. I want to convert that one to complex. So complex of b. I am giving only one parameter. In such a case, what happens? B will be converted to complex. Now b, whatever value we have 2.65, that will be taken as a real part and the imaginary part is considered as a 0. Now suppose let us consider complex of a comma b I am giving. Then in such a case, so I have given wrong, complex a comma b. In such a case, you will get a value will be 10. Observe here, even though we are writing here float value, the original value of a will not be changed. Got it? We are displaying the float of a, that's it. Then a value is 10 and b value is 6.25, that is the original value only. So what here I want to tell is, this part will be taken for real and this part will be taken for imaginary. Right? Now let us try to convert the complex number to another number. Our complex number is c here. Our complex number is c. So let us convert int of c. That means I want to convert a complex number to integer part. I told you it is not possible. In such a case, it will throw an error saying like can't convert complex number to integer. Right? These are all the different types of number conversions, number type conversions, where any number can be converted to int, long and complex, but integer can be converted to float and complex, but complex numbers can't be converted to int and float. Right? So we will come to an end of our third lecture, that is about numbers. We'll all meet in our next lecture. Thank you.